Okay, so let's turn the iPad on for the first time. Press the switch on top of the iPad, the sleep-wake switch.
Okay, slide that switch right there.
Oops. Cancel. Okay, so this is the first thing you see when you have your iPad turned on. It's a welcome screen. The first thing it needs to know is what language you speak. English is the chosen default, so we can choose, just select that, and at the top of the screen you'll see a right-facing arrow button. We'll tap that to continue. The next thing the iPad wants to know is where you're located. It really only needs the country, and the United States is chosen by default. So once again, we can use that little blue button in the top right to move on. Your iPad has built-in ability to find its location, kind of like using GPS. And when you turn on your iPad for the first time, you need to choose whether you want to use these features or not. Not every program uses these, but some ones, like for example the camera, will use it to attach to your photograph information about where the photo was taken. I would say to turn these on and to tap the button for Enable Location Services. And then the next button at the top of the screen. Your iPad has wireless Wi-Fi networking ability. So the next thing it'll do is ask you which Wi-Fi network you want to join. If you're setting up this iPad at home, it might have the name of your home wireless network or the coffee shop where you're located. Here on Grand Valley's campus, we're going to choose the GV Faculty Staff Network. And because this is a password-protected network, we need to enter our Grand Valley username and password. Okay, now that you have your name and your password entered, press the blue Join button. And a lot of the features that come next will only work if you're actually connecting your iPad to a wireless network. Now here on campus, you might get this interesting certificate message, which will make absolutely no sense to you, and it really makes no sense to me either. All you have to do is tap that Accept button to move on. It'll spin for a moment while it connects to the network. And you'll see now a blue Next button at the top of the screen. Okay, the iPad now wants some information about whether you've used iPads before. In this case, we have not. So at the bottom of the screen, there's an option for Set Up as New iPad. We're going to use that option and use the Next button. Now, in another video, we'll talk about what an Apple ID is. In brief, an Apple ID is kind of your account with Apple's system for purchasing apps, music, books, movies, etc. You really need one to get the most out of your iPad experience. Now, they're free. They don't cost you anything. You will at some point need to provide a credit card just in case you want to buy something. In this case, we already have an Apple ID set up, so we're going to use the Sign In with an Apple ID button. There's also a button there for creating a new Apple ID, but we'll cover that in a different video. If you have an existing Apple ID, it will ask for your ID and password. Once you have your name and password entered, tap the Next button. And there will be some legal conditions to agree to. At the very bottom, you'll see an Agree button. And for some reason, you need to agree twice. They like agreeable sorts. Once again, the iPad will take a moment or two to set things up. The next thing the iPad will want you to set up is something called iCloud. We'll talk about this in another video as well. iCloud is a free service that allows you to synchronize settings, preferences, and photos and other materials too on your iPad with other things you might own like iPhones or even your Macintosh computer. If you already have an iCloud account, you just need to tap Use iCloud and the Next button. I would say there's really no reason not to use iCloud, because one of the benefits is that it will actually back up your iPad to the cloud in case something ever actually happens to your iPad. Your contents will generally be safe, and you have a choice here of either using iCloud for your backups or backing up to a computer that you might own that you connect your iPad to. It doesn't really matter what you choose. Backing up to the cloud is actually a really good choice, so we'll do that and tap Next. And one of the other features that's tied to iCloud is one called Find My iPad. If you ever happen to lose your iPad and you don't know where it is, By having this turned on, you'll be able to go to the iCloud website and use a feature that will actually find the last location where your iPad was located. Now, it's only accurate within 100 to 200 feet, so it's not going to tell you if it's under the left or the right sofa cushion. But if you're trying to figure out if you left it at the bookstore, it'll help you with that. And you can also use it to send a message to the screen, or even if you fear that it's been irrevocably lost in the hands of your enemy, there's an ability to remotely erase your iPad using this feature as well. So this is a really handy feature. We're going to turn it on by saying Use Find My iPad, and then we're going to tap Next. Now, if you're using an iPad 3, you have a great new feature called Dictation, which will give you a special button which will allow you to actually say things and have the iPad write them down in whatever program you're using. Now, of course, it's not perfect because computers are not perfect. And the one big caveat is that you need to have the internet available to actually use this, because it actually makes available processing power out on the internet to make this happen. It is, though, a handy feature, so I would say to use Dictation. If you're on an iPad 2 or an iPad 1, you will not have Dictation available to you. We're going to tap Next. And here's just a little random question about whether you want to help Apple out by giving them information about when things work and don't work. Either option is fine. Then tap Next. And anytime you buy an expensive piece of equipment, it's a good idea to register it with the people who made it, so that if there's a problem, you can contact them. There's a step here for registering with Apple. And I would say to leave that on and then tap Next. And now, congratulations, your iPad is set up and ready to use. At the bottom, tap the button that says Start Using iPad, and away we go.